Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. This is your host, Rising Oblivion. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about all of the different versions of Persona 5 Royal when it comes to the port, next-gen versions. What is going to be the best benefits? What's the best platform to play it on? Specifically more just for you, because obviously a lot of these are kind of like opinion-based, right? And your personal preference, the way you like to play this. So I'm going to go over all the different versions here and talk about a little bit which one's going to be the right one to specifically fit you for your platform. But before we jump into this video, guys, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that there is a normal Steelbook version out there that you can get of the game. They, for some reason, showed off the collector's version, which is like $120 something. I'll have that tagged at the end of this video. It's also my last video I did here on the channel talking about the collector's edition, which is what had the Steelbook. But you can just get the normal Steelbook just itself. That is something that is out there, $60. Hopefully it's still there by the time this video comes out. I'm not 100% sure, but there is a normal Steelbook now that has all the DLC and everything. And then there's the collector's edition, which of course also includes the Steelbook as well. But let's go ahead and jump on into this video. Let's just go ahead and talk about the Switch version of Persona 5 Royal. So the Switch version obviously is going to be a bit of a downgrade when it comes to the visuals, of course, because you're playing it on a Switch, and even if you have it docked, it's still having, you know, less power than something like even the PS4 would have. So yes, you have on the Switch, it's going to be running at 720p 30 FPS on handheld mode, and it might look a little bit better upscaled to 1080p when it is docked, so it will look a little bit better. Of course, there's also the OLED version of the Switch. This is also the thing that everybody wanted when it came to, you know, Persona ports, is having on Switch, mostly because I think a lot of the fan base is over at the, you know, SMT part of things, is mostly on Nintendo stuff, right? SMT4, SMT5, it's all Nintendo. I think just a lot of Megaten fans were there, but also, of course, the big thing here about Switch is it's mobile. You're able to have it handheld, you're able to take it around. I know I personally am planning to get it on the PS5 and the Switch just because I know those handheld capabilities are going to be really fun and nice to have, just to be able to lug the game around wherever I want to, which is nice. Moving on over, let's talk a little bit about the next-gen-ish versions, I guess you could say, which is going to be the PS5 and the Xbox next-gen versions as well, the X and S. So, the best bet, I think, when it comes to all the consoles here is probably the next-gen consoles. That being the PS5 and the Xbox versions there too, because it's a safe bet. We know for sure it's going to have, you know, 4K HDR or whatnot because of that. 60 FPS, I believe, is where it's going to be locked at. I think, unfortunately, I think the PC is going to have a potential boost when it comes to frame rate, or potentially has it unlocked. I don't think we for sure know whether or not it's going to have an uncapped frame rate, but we're just going to have to wait and see once ever we get the game there. It is a jrpg, so having tons and tons of frames isn't really important. I don't think playing this game at 60 frames versus 120 frames is going to really do a whole lot here. Jumping from 30 to 60, however, I think that is a lot, and that is what we're going to be getting. For the first time, we're able to play Persona 5 Royal at 60 frames per second. That being the next-gen versions and the PC versions, and of course, it's going to be a standard at 1080p when it comes to the console versions. The next-gen consoles are also capable of having HDR and better looking quality, just overall when it comes to their games. Not to mention, you're going to have an SSD, which is going to be faster load times and save times. So you're going to be able to save your game, load your game up quicker. It's going to happen a lot faster. Was P5 a game that necessarily had some struggles when it came to load times? Not really. It really didn't. I mean, like we said before in past videos and things, this was a PS3 game brought over to the PS4, and then now it's being brought over to everything else next gen. So this game is not very demanding of your hard drive, I guess you could say. Graphically, it's not very demanding as well either, but we're just going over the stuff here. And of course, Xbox is also going to have this on Game Pass, so if you're a person who does not care to have it physically pretty much at all, and you're just like, I just want the best deal for this game, and you already own an Xbox, especially if you own Game Pass, Game Pass is going to be an excellent route to take when it came to, you know, just overall money here, because Game Pass is going to give access to tons and tons of other games, and we know for sure this is going to be on there, and the other versions of the past Persona games as well. Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden is going to be on there as well whenever those come out eventually down the road. You're going to have them all there on Game Pass. Game Pass is an excellent way to go, and of course it's also on PC, which we could jump over to the PC segment now. So PC, this is the I guess you could say, most potential when it comes to where this game could be at. Because PCs are all different, it is a little bit harder to understand exactly how your PC is going to interact with the game, because every PC build's a little bit different. You have AMD builds, you have, Intel builds, you have many different builds that you can have here for your PC, the amount of RAM that you have, if you have an SSD or not. If you don't have an SSD, obviously it's going to load a little bit slower, but the load times aren't as crazy. Like I said, this is more personal preference. What kind of GPU do you have? What kind of CPU do you have? It's going to all depend a little bit on how this game is going to be, but not only that, it also depends on the optimization that we see here from Atlus. We've seen, third-party people port other things like Catherine, like Persona 4 Golden on PC. I think SMT3 was also a third-party thing, and I'm not 100% sure if this is going to be in-house or not. I believe that this is going to be in-house, Atlus actually porting these. I think I've seen that somewhere, that this is Atlus porting this stuff. Does that necessarily mean it's going to be better? I'm not 100% sure. I think a lot of people are very skeptical about this because we've had past games put onto Steam and they were just not optimized to the perfection. They were not very optimized. Of course, something like the PS4, it was a lot better because you know exactly what's going to be in a PS4. You know the exact hardware as a developer, what's going to be in there. A PC, it could be different. Like I said, there's so many different variations of a PC, it really just depends on your hardware, how well this is going to be optimized for PCs. It's just really hard to say here. This has the most potential because you could have the best SSD, a better one than you would see in the PS5 or the Xbox. You could have, obviously a better graphics card to make these settings and everything else run the best it possibly can. And if there is uncapped frame rate, you're going to have the most frame rate here. You're going to have the best looking version of Persona 5 Royal on PC. That is, of course, like I said, if it's optimized well, and if your PC can handle it. That is going to be the basis here, basically, of how well this runs on your PC. This could be the best version. It's kind of hard to say. So let's do a little bit of an overview here. So PC obviously has Game Pass. If you have, Game Pass and you connect it to your computer, I think the Xbox Companion type thing, I think has that, but I think there's their own Game Pass thing here. So you can have it on Game Pass for PC. Obviously, it's going to be PC, it's digital only. There's not going to be collector's editions or physical versions. You could have the best possible running version, though, of Persona 5 Royal on the PC. Of course, that is if all things go well, and we see how that is in the future. I have hope, guys. The Switch, of course, there's a new OLED, so you can have a better version looking of it. However, it's going to be handheld. That is the big focus here when it comes to the Switch version. It's going to look significantly worse. It's probably going to look worse than the PS4 version of the game. However, you have that handheld capability. It is on a smaller screen, so you might not even recognize necessarily that it's looking so-called like worse, I guess you could say. That's a little opinionated, I guess, but if you dock it and blow it up on a big screen, it's going to look significantly worse compared to something like a console or something. So if you're going to have this on Switch, I recommend just kind of keeping it in handheld maybe most of the time, so you won't really notice that. So the PC has the potential best looking versions, the best running versions of this. Handheld has the handheld capability, being able to lug it around wherever you want, and of course we have console, which is going to be the safe bet, I think, here. So if your person just wants to go with the safest route, I think the PlayStation or the Xbox is the best place to do this. Xbox having on Game Pass, you're having it the cheapest way possible there with Xbox. It's also going to run just as well as the PS5 will. 4K potential capabilities. It's going to be running at 60 frames per second. You have SSDs in both of those, so load times are going to be amazing. So you might be a little bit under what the PC's capabilities possibly could do. You're going to be looking a lot better than the Switch version, and there's physical versions for the console versions of the game. So that is basically the overview here. Let me know down in the comment section below where you're going to be getting this. You're going to be getting it on Switch, either the consoles, Xbox, or PlayStation, or are you going to try doing it on PC? I really hope that the PC version is going to be looking good, is going to be running well, but we're going to have to see. I've never had any problems with it, but I have a pretty, I guess you could say, just normal build for my computer, so maybe that's why it never really had any issues in the, all the different ports I've played. I ran through Persona 4 Golden without absolutely anything going wrong, but P5 is a little bit more demanding than that, so there could be more room for error there, so I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But like, comment, subscribe for more content, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you all so much for watching.